Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, traders. Steve here at Logic FX Trading, and welcome to our daily FX analysis video. I'm just starting with this Mark Twain quote, guys, because it often pops into my head. It ain't what you don't know that kills you, it's what you know for sure that ain't true. And the reason that this pops into my head a lot is because often when I sit down to do these recordings on a daily basis, I have no idea what's going on, guys. I don't mean that, no idea in the bigger sense, but I just mean on that particular day or in any particular instrument, I don't really know. And I've got no problem telling you that I don't really know. And this is the reason behind doing that for you. Because sometimes I kind of think to myself, people are sitting listening to you and you're telling them you don't know. So why would they bother listening to you? Well, the reason that it's worth listening is just if it just raises a little bit of doubt in your head of something that you thought that you knew for sure. And it turned out that it just ain't true, guys. Because when you're trading, it's as much about not acting as it is about acting. And you need to be very careful about when you take decisions to invest your money in something or to trade your money or to risk your money, depending on whether you're buying a stock or whether you're buying a bond or whether you're jumping in and out of currencies. You need to be very careful, but even more so with currencies, guys, because often we use leverage with currencies and they don't have to move very far in the wrong direction to get yourself into difficulty. And you're kind of going, unlike with a stock, where a stock moves down, unless the company's an absolute disaster, if the stock's just moving up and down with the tide, of the economy, well, you can hang on for 6 months or it might even take you a year, but you'll get your money back. But if you get it wrong with the currency, you might not get your money back for 10 years if you can hang on that long, because it'll just keep going down and down and down, particularly with leverage. And then you've got leverage fees on top of it, guys. And it can be a bit of a scary ride when you get it wrong with currencies, which is the reason why so often with currencies, I'll say to you guys, I don't know what's happening there today, and I'll move on. But when I see something and I have a bit of knowledge about a certain situation, or we're looking for something to happen, then we'll focus on that and we'll talk about that. Now, the important thing with currency trading, particularly, is the stop loss, guys. If you're wrong, get out. Accept the loss and get out. Don't double down. Don't, dollar average down, etc., because you're because you're just going to get yourself into more and more trouble. And the reason I say that is because I've done it. I'm actually in a bad position at the moment, which has brought all this to the forefront of my mind. The last lot of months, we've been calling the yen short, and the yen's been very beaten. It's going short, it's going short, it's going short. And then the moment, as it seems all the time with currency, with trading, it seems like the moment that I decide to take advantage of all this great analysis I've done over the last lot of weeks and months, that's the day that the South Africans come out and say, hey, there's a new variant of coronavirus, and the market thinks, oh my goodness, this doesn't look good, and bang, the rush to safety. So what I did say yesterday, and we will look at the charts in a moment, guys. What I said yesterday was, listen, if you're in this the way I am, put a stop loss below where you are at the minute, and if it goes bad, you're out. You can always get back into it, or do you know what? You can find something better to trade and take the money and put it into something else, or just leave it cash on the table at the minute, guys. Particularly if you're in stocks, I was down to 10%. Now all year I've been running 50% cash on the table, guys, and then I kind of got into a lull with it over the last few months, where I've been slowly but surely buying things without looking at the bigger picture, and I realized I was 90% involved whenever we started this, what I believe is going to be a correction over the next few months. But I've managed to get it back to 20% because it took some money off the table yesterday. Not with a loss at the minute. I'm trying to see if I can get out, close things that are in the green. but I may have to start closing things in the red to try and get some money off the table, on the table, so that when we go, first of all, when we go in the down run, that our losses aren't as big as they would have been. And secondly, when we get to the point where we think, okay, we can start buying in again, there'll be some money there to buy in. Okay, a bit of a long introduction today, guys, but we are in unusual circumstances again. We're not back where we were, in March 2020, but we could be in a mini one of those whereby the whole world was thinking, here we go, we've got this thing beat, away we go, and we might not be in that position. We don't know for sure at the minute, but the world governments and health organizations are taking a very serious look at what's going on and winding back some of the freedoms, guys. And the market will react badly to it, as we saw on Friday. Yesterday, everyone was saying that, it was just the overreaction because it was a Friday, because it was on Thanksgiving, because it was thin trading. And the markets moved slightly up yesterday, but today it looks like we're running in the opposite direction again, guys. So we'll have a look at all of that in a moment. Let's just quickly look at the economic calendar. Wasn't able to do it yesterday because I had a dental appointment. I was only able to do 15 minutes before I had to run off. So here we go. Inflation rate in Germany came in at 5.2. High, guys, although they've got it in green. I don't understand why they keep doing this. And Fed Powell speech yesterday. He's speaking again today, and all eyes are on the Fed. What are they going to do? How are they going to tackle this situation? They might not want to do anything knee-jerk, but it will certainly be on the cards to look at the tapering, guys, and to look at the whole idea that they're going to hike rates. And that's despite the fact that inflation is where it is. Because if we start getting lockdowns or restrictions of movement, you're going to see inflation naturally come off that, I believe, or at least stabilizing. And therefore, there might not be a reason for the Fed to tighten, because they certainly won't want to kill the economy, guys. So it's something we have to look at. We're not going to know definitively, as we rarely do anyway, but at least we need to gather a bit more information over the next few weeks. So that's the reason for this whole introduction, guys. I'm at the point where I'm saying we need to be careful of trying to jump into the dollar long at this point, because Paul could come out and say, we're going back dovish to try and support the economy through this difficult time that's coming up, despite the fact that we do have all this inflation, guys. Okay, so whether that's right or whether it's wrong, we need to be careful. Back to this. It's what you don't know for sure that ain't true, guys. We don't know for sure what's happening, so we can't believe that we know for sure. So we need to be careful at the minute, guys. Okay, right. On to quick flipboard look, and the reason for this is stocks futures sink, virus fear spark haven rush, markets wrap. Now, yeah, that was 4 days ago. Ethereum founder puts forward a new fix for high gas fees. I'm just covering this because it's here. One of the reasons I wasn't very keen on Ethereum, guys, because it was costing a fortune to use the thing. If they find a fix for it, Ethereum could go long. But remember the circumstances we're in at the minute, because a lot of money could come out of a lot of things. But the bigger picture is there's upside for Ethereum. The short term, medium term, there could be a disaster on the markets. I don't like using that word, sorry guys. There could be a correction in the markets in the meantime. Crypto price predictions, serious Fed warning issued over Bitcoin, Ethereum, BNP, Solana, Cardinal, and XRP. Quick look at this because it's important, because it's, Paul has been reinstated, as we know, for another 4 years. Oh, what's going on with this now, guys? Okay. and he's overseen the biggest monetary stimulus program in US history to help offset the catastrophic economic effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, with Bitcoin and crypto prices booming along with the stock market and many other many other assets. Now billionaire crypto investor Mike Novogratz has warned Powell could trigger a Bitcoin and crypto market meltdown in 2022 as he acts to curb runaway inflation that's leapt to a 30-year high. Now, the thing with this is, yet again, we don't know, because we don't know what Powell's going to do given the new situation. So we're really up in the air with everything, guys. So even this story could be the reverse, because he may have to turn around and say, well, we're not going to introduce those, or the market might predict that he's not going to introduce those tightening as soon as they thought he was going to. So maybe this market goes up. But the problem with a lot of this market is it's on borrowed money, guys. It's leveraged. And anything that's leveraged, when things get tight, money's taken off the table and bang, down it goes. What else? You see, yet again, Cathie Wood's best cryptocurrency to buy now and hold. Talking about Bitcoin yet again. But she's very, very long term, guys. She's talking 5, 10 years, 15, 20 years down the line. That's what she's investing for. She's not overly concerned about market dips and pullbacks, etc., because she's not thinking this week, next month, or 6 months' time. She's thinking 5 years' time, guys. So be very careful of following Cathie Wood unless you've done your own research and find that the particular stock she's getting into may well move sooner rather than later. Jack Dorsey's Twitter resignation is really about Bitcoin. Jack Dorsey has resigned from Twitter, but he's also running Square, guys. And they're basically saying here the reason he's doing it is because he thinks the future's in DeFi, it's in Bitcoin, it's in cryptocurrencies. I tend to believe him. That doesn't mean that they aren't dangerous. It doesn't mean they aren't volatile. But yet again, if you had Cathie Wood's view of trading, any of the major, and there will be some new ones that come along, which will turn out to be, fantastic. There's been cryptocurrencies that have got up tens of thousands of % over this last year. But there are so many out there. How do you pick the one and get involved in it? And that's a whole new thing, guys. I have started dipping my toe into them. I'm still very jittery with them. I get into them and say, right, I'm holding on to these for the next year or so, or until they make a good return. And then 2 days later, I'm out of it again. So I'm a bit jittery with them. And then here's the big problem. Omicron was in the Netherlands before South African alert. It's in the Netherlands. It's in the UK. They've picked up something like 14 cases. This was the same back in March 2020, guys, when we were talking about it then, when it was being, WHO were talking about it in China, and I stopped going out. I stopped going out in February, other than to go to the shops, etc., guys, but I stopped socializing in February. And end of March was whenever the UK started to close things down. So 6 weeks before they closed it down, I said, I'm out of here. It was already here. There was one case found. One person died. And that was enough for me. That was in February. And it turned out it had been in the UK long before then. It may well have been in the UK in December, even November. So this Omicron will have been in the UK. It'll be in US, it'll be everywhere, and it's now a case of how bad it's going to be. Now, just on that, there was one other article that was very important to that story that I read earlier, and I thought I'd flipped it, guys. Just bear with me. It's to do with the Moderna CEO. Okay, I'll just tell you, I'll ad-lib it, guys, as I do with most things. I'll ad-lib it. I watched a very well-respected trader, an eToro traders on YouTube. I watched him yesterday, and he comes across very, very. Listen, he's good. Don't get me wrong, and he comes across as very confident. But he dipped into something yesterday that he's not an expert in, which was virology, and uh, his whole view of it was that we've won the war with this thing because companies like BioNTech have produced the technology to produce uh, new vaccines against any mutations, and basically said there's nothing to worry about. Well, on a long-term view, maybe he's right. But I then went and read the comments, and one of the comments that stood out to me was a guy came on and he said, "Listen, I have a BSc, which isn't, it's not massive, a BSc in whether it was virology or biology or whatever." He said, "But I think some of the things you're saying there, you need to be careful about because it's not that straightforward and it's not that simple." And I have a bit of experience. I also did biology at university, and I worked in a virology lab um, for a period of time before I went to South Africa and became a mining engineer. It was a whole rebooting of what I was doing in my early 20s. So I've also got a little bit of understanding of viruses, guys. And it isn't as simple as just going, oh, there's a new variant. You have to isolate it. You have to work very hard on it. And after a long process of weeks and months, shorter process than the first time round, but it's still going to take months, they may well come up with a vaccine that's effective against Omicron. The problem is that it continues to mutate, guys. And the amount of mutations on Omicron is massive compared to the other mutations that we witnessed when we had, Delta. So it's a whole new ball game. So we can't just turn around and think, oh, the scientists have this sorted, because over and above actually finding the vaccine, they're going to have to produce it in the billions, and then they're going to have to get it distributed, and then they're going to have to actually get it into people's arms and persuade all those morons out there who somehow think that it doesn't apply to them, often because they're frightened of actually getting a needle stuck in their arm, or they're frightened of what they don't know, frightened of the unknown. But still, sometimes you got to believe in people who are smarter than you. Now, just to finish that story up, the CEO of Moderna came out and more or less said the same thing in much better terms than what I just used, obviously, guys. It'll be out there if you want to search. And there's been a big reaction on the markets today because he's come out and said, guys, this isn't straightforward. And we could go through a very bad period of time before we get a new fix for this one as well. If it turns out that the Omicron is as virulent, one of those words I can't say, guys, or more virulent, more dangerous than Delta. So there's loads of unknowns out there, guys, and that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, let's get on with it. I say let's get on with it, but I'm not entirely sure what we're going to get on with. So what's happening with this? Well, we were predicting it would take another run down into that area. Doubtful. Yesterday, I thought after we had to push up on Friday, I thought, well, we'll just continue on down because it doesn't look like anybody's going to overreact to this situation. But given what's been said overnight, and given what governments are saying, and possibly what Paul's going to say later today, we could well see the end continuing to rise. Is it worth jumping into? It depends on the balance of your portfolio, guys. If you want to get into something as a potential hedge, then trade it long. I'm in it in the wrong direction, so that's why do I get out? Now, one of the issues I have with this, and I've talked about this a lot before, and I'll just point it out again, because we only learn through our mistakes, and you'll only learn with my mistakes by me being honest about them. When we had this, which was February, March last year, when we had the lockdowns coming in the first time round, I was short. Was it long? I was short. Yeah. Dollar pound. Let's go to dollar pound, because that was the one I was actually in. We're talking about a way back over here. When was it? 2019. Here. 2020. Yeah, it was this. Doesn't look the same because it's daily. And it didn't look like that, guys. I had this, something like that. Let's take it down to maybe 4 hours. We might get away with 4 hours here. This is it here, isn't it? That's April 2020. Where am I? Let me pause you guys to find this. Yeah, that was it there. Okay. So in here, within this structure, I'd taken dollar pound short. And then all the news came out and it started pushing up. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, I'm in this in the wrong direction. So I closed it short. Look, I closed my short trade and I opened the long trade. And then it turned and it did this. So in both situations, well, I was right and then I was wrong. In both situations, I lost. So this is why I say be very careful of switching and jumping around and changing your mind. I've picked a direction with dollar yen, which is long, and it's turned out so far that prediction was wrong. Okay, I got in here. It had already dropped on Friday, and I thought, because we'd drawn in here something like that, and we said if price comes down to there, we'll trade it long. So it dropped there, and it dropped quite sharply. And I was looking at the situation. I said, you know what? You made a prediction that if it got to there, you'd trade it long. So I got into it. And as it turned out, it was the wrong decision. So it's pushed on down. Now, yesterday I advised you guys that if you were in the same situation as me, that unless it was going to recover, then you need to be very careful of it dropping below there. So put a stop loss in there and accept your loss. Of course, I didn't do that. I forgot to do it. I was too busy doing other stuff. Oh, dentist, that's what it was. I went off to the dentist, sore mouth all afternoon, and wasn't really interested in looking at the markets. So I forgot to put my stop loss in there, guys. Should have put a stop loss in, because this could well continue on down. Particularly, and this is the most important thing we're going to say today, particularly if the Fed turns dovish. If they turn around and say, listen, no, they're not going to turn around saying drastic, but if the market predicts, based on what Powell says today, that they're turning dovish and they're not going to continue with the tapering, or they might slow down tapering, or they may not introduce rate hikes as soon as the market was predicting, well, all of that's priced in, guys. So what do you think will happen? Well, this will drop off from here. Now, I don't know that that's going to happen. All I'm saying is, guys, be very careful. Particularly, if you've made some money, tighten your stops. If you haven't, this isn't a time for me. A period of uncertainty when you don't know what's going to happen isn't the time to speculate, guys. It isn't the time to trade. It's a time to be careful. It's a time to take money off the table and sit and wait and see. And if you're in something, tighten your stops. Unless it's a stock and you've just decided you're going to ride through it, then that's a different thing. But with currencies, tighten your stops. And if you're wrong or it goes in the wrong direction, take the small hit and get out and wait for things to calm down and then start trying to get your money back again. Okay. Right. So euro dollar, yet again, I have no idea. That's the reason we talked about that, guys. I have no idea because I don't know if the dollar is going to continue to correct or it's going to go long. I suspect it's going to continue to correct, which could well push that up there. But if you want, I'm not going to speculate on it, guys. But if you guys want to speculate on it, you certainly can. Pound US. Well, Bank of England's going to be coming out this week. We were expecting them to talk about hiking rates. We have to see what their view of what's happening at the minute, whether that's going to affect the decision that they were going to make or whether they just go ahead. I suspect they'll all come out and say, we're going to wait the next month. You know, we're not going to do anything till we see what the effects of Omicron are, guys. And therefore, the pound may not make the recovery that it was expecting it to, but it was saying, don't trade it against the dollar anyway. Aussie US, yet again, guys, we were looking for this to continue to go down. Let's get into the 1 hour time scale here. We were looking for this to continue to drop, guys. I've now no idea where it's going to go. It will go where the dollar decides to go. If the dollar decides to drop, this will go long, and vice versa. New Zealand, same thing, guys. We were expecting it to continue to go down. I see it's hit a target there, whatever that target was. Can't remember what we put that in for. Might be an old target from over there. See that? Might have been a target for that, guys. But anyway, we've hit that target. Ordinarily, I would say, look, we're looking for a bit of period of consolidation. We may well get it, but it's not a time for me to jump, in my opinion, to jump in. US CAD has pushed on up a little bit. The oil prices have come off, I'm pretty sure, when I looked at them the other day. Oil prices have taken a battering. We were expecting them to at least stay in this region. It's down to 67. That's a lot deeper than we thought they were going to go, guys. I know we've jumped ahead here, but it's important for the CAD price. Wasn't expecting them down that much. Hasn't broken that bottom yet, so I don't think there's too much to worry about yet. And this is about the uncertainty. Is the world going to lock down again? Is the demand for oil going to drop off the face of a cliff? If so, do you remember what happened the last time, guys? Now, this will not happen. It's not going to go below zero, but you certainly could see a spike down. We've already had one. You could possibly see another one. Yet again, I'm not speculating whether that's going to go long or short. Last time I traded oil was over here when it was sitting at something like $24, and I said, well, it can't go any lower than this. And I didn't realize it could actually go into the negative. And yet again, we lost a trade there. Why do I keep talking about trades that I've lost? Because you only learn from the things you've done wrong, guys. There's nothing to learn from getting it right, because you already know. That's the reason you got it right, because you knew. So we always talk about what we did wrong. Doesn't mean we're getting everything wrong all the time, but we learned from our mistakes. Well, you should learn from your mistakes. When you get something wrong, you go away and you learn something about what happened and see if you can at least learn to be a little bit more cautious the next time, or whether there was some information that you didn't have or you didn't understand. And in that situation, I didn't know oil could go to zero, because I don't think it ever had done in the history of the world. I'm not sure that it ever had done, but at least now we know that can happen. CAD US on the 4 hour time scale, we were looking for maybe it to run a little bit flat. No idea what's going to happen. Hopefully, as the week goes on, we'll get a better idea. I have a feeling that the dollar's going to come off its highs, but remember, the other side is that the dollar's also a safe haven, guys. So you could see money get into the dollar as people sell off, and they just hold it in dollars. And another little thing about the oil price, I picked up on Bloomberg yesterday. They were saying the amount of oil that the US and other nations are releasing from their strategic reserves are just a drop in the ocean compared to demand, guys, and therefore unless OPEC decides to open the floodgates and produce more oil, oil's going to stay high. Now, the reason that was all before this happened. That was all before Omicron came along. It's thrown a spanner in the works, guys. That's what we're basically saying here today. There's a spanner been thrown in the works. The engine's still turning, and we're not exactly sure how much damage the spanner's going to do. US Swiss, well, last week we were looking for a drawdown in order to go long. Well, we've had the drawdown. I'm just going to take those arrows off for the meantime, guys, because we're not sure anymore. We're not sure anymore. And then Swedish, we're in a correction. Could turn out to be a lot deeper correction. Even technically, this looks like it needs to correct. You know, it certainly looks like it could do with a correction, guys. US yen, we talked about that one. Gold hasn't really had a big reaction yet, guys. Silver, no big reaction. If anything, it's been moving short. But we did see that back in the last time when money came out of everywhere, folks. And then it took off. Then it went short and then it took off. Where are we? 1920. Yeah, there it was there. March. Dropped like a stone, guys, which was a big surprise to us because you thought, well, hold on a minute. People are moving into safety. Surely they're moving into gold. But there were people overexposing gold, guys, so they just dumped it. And then off it went. Silver, we know the story about that. It'll be the same as gold. Bitcoin, it's coming off an all-time high, guys. Can it push long? It can push long. Is it going to be a safe haven? I don't know. I think there's a lot of leverage in there. Could well see it dropping. I'll not buy it unless it comes down into the 30,000s, guys. Ethereum, same thing. It's pushing up at the moment on the 1 hour time scale. But if you look at this, what I was drawn the other day with this was that, well, it's dropped, it's consolidating. You wouldn't be surprised if you got one more down there before it started getting up. That's the reason we put that circle in there, guys. Can it rush up and take off? Possibly. Guys, I was looking, because I'm trying to find out a little bit more about cryptocurrency and what the market's like and who's trading it and one thing and another. I went in and started looking at some of the comments on things like Shiba Inu, as they call it. It's one of those meme cryptocurrencies that's rocketed way up and then dropped like a stone, and overnight there it was pushing up again. And then you get some guy comes on, he goes, hey, I'm thinking of dropping £1,000 on Shiba, and you get 61 comments and you read through them, and the cockiness and the arrogance and the definitive comments that are in there are scary, because you go and you look at the people that's making the comments, because that's what you can do in eToro. You can go and see, well, how's this guy doing? How long's he been? Or this person, it generally tends to be young men that make these arrogant comments, guys. How are they doing? Minus 62%. Been trading 3 months. Yeah, minus 50%, minus 90%. And yet they're on there telling someone, hey, you should definitely put your money on it. You should do this. And anyone that comes in with a voice of reason gets slaughtered. So naturally, I don't comment on them. But that's what you need to be careful of. Anyone that's been trading a while and been listening to me for a while, you'll know. You guys know. But you need to be careful of all that nonsense that goes on out there if you're new. EuroCAD, yet again, we've had a bit of a recovery in the euro as the dollar's pulled back. And then obviously the oil price dropping. So potentially there's more upside there, guys. Euro Oz, yet again. We were looking for it to drop into here, and then we said, well, it'll probably come off there. Didn't get that drop, guys. The dollar, because the dollar dropped, a bit of money went into the euro. There isn't any big reason for the euro to get any stronger, guys, other than the fact that it's dropped so far. But things have kind of changed. Well, the reason we were looking for it down is because Germany was going into a lockdown or a semi-lockdown. Austria was going into a semi-lockdown. We were looking for the Fed to taper. So everything was looking like the dollar was going to continue long, euro short. And we're now looking at the opposite. This, be careful of. That's a 5-wave impulse, guys. So on a 1-hour time scale or any shorter time scale than that, there's a high probability once that wave's over, which it may be, it may not be, it could be a bit more up, but you'll get a correction down into there, guys. So don't be jumping in there long. If you're already in it, get your stop loss in there and see where it gets to. Euro yen. Now, isn't that interesting that there isn't really, well, the euro yen's been coming down over a long time, but there haven't been any real spikes. Let's go back and make sure I know what I'm talking about here. Euro dollar. To see that? We didn't get that with the euro yen, guys. Kind of held its ground. And what we were looking for here, although I did say definitively, and I'll hold my hands up and I'll admit it, the last few weeks when we've been looking at this pair, I've been saying, well, I think it'll probably break out and go long as the yen continues to drop. But why would you trade this when you've got euro dollar? When you've got dollar yen, because that's the one that's going to move long. And of course, it turned out to be completely and utterly wrong. Let's just put it that way. And then euro Swiss, we're looking to see. We put the big question mark in there, and we're saying it's come down a long way. At some point, you'll get a recovery. But when that's going to happen, I don't know. So you got to wait for a breakout or some sign that it's started to go long. Pound CAD, you're getting a bit of a push up there. That's one that seems that we did get correct, guys. Maybe there's more upside to it, but I wouldn't be gambling on it at the minute. Pound Oz, it's another one that we got right that I didn't trade. Well, I was in it last week. Do you remember? A couple of weeks ago. Do you remember I got into it and then I accidentally deleted it? But I think it was a bit there. I deleted it, so it wouldn't have been any further on. Delete's not the right word. Closed. Accidentally closed it. Pound New Zealand, same thing, guys. Maybe there's upside to it, but you need a setup. Pound Swiss. Leave that alone because we're not sure what's going to happen with the Swiss. Pound Euro. Little bit of strengthening up the euro there. We were expecting this to maybe go long. I don't trade this. I used to trade it years ago, but it moves in such a weird way that things like that. Never liked the way it moved. Look at that. Look at that. That's why I don't trade it, guys. Because you're up one day and then you're down, then you're up, and then you're down, then you're up, and you're down. And like 3 months later, if you got it right, you've got a decent move. But too much uncertainty with it. Pound yen, well, as usual, not as usual, as we've seen with everything else, that's quite an impulsive move down. Could be a bit more downside to it. Pound Oz, the other one that I was looking to break out and I got involved in here, getting murdered. Aussie, New Zealand. I'm just guessing, but I think it's going to go long. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I can't believe I said that. I should have just said I don't know. But I have a feeling it's going to go long. But I've no reason for that, guys. Aussie Swiss. Yeah, well, I've said to you for weeks, leave this alone. No idea what's going on with it. Aussie CAD is another one. I've no idea what's going on with it. Possibly upside, guys, if the oil price continues to depress. Swiss yen, We were looking for this to break out, but obviously the strengthening of the yen has held it where it is. If you look at this as a fib, 38.2, not all that significant, but given the angle that it's coming down, remember you can get sharp moves on it, but I would think that if the gold price starts to move long, as a response, if we do get some sort of movement into gold, then you will see this going on. CAD Swiss. Now, thank goodness I didn't get into this. I love trading this, or I have done. Every now and again, you get into something and it just gives and gives and gives, and then you run out of ideas with it and you have to leave it alone. And then you keep coming back to it, hoping that you'll get another angle on it. But for this last while, I've had no idea with it, guys. And the other day, I was really keen to get into it up here, and just didn't happen. But you know what? Isn't that a bit of a flat correction? It's running flat. So is that the place to buy long? I'm certainly not going to jump into it. But if over the next few days things settle down and the markets don't sell off, then certainly on a technical point of view, you could well see that, doing one of those again, or one of those guys. But the worry about it is, look at where all of the major moves have been over the last lot of months, guys. The last year, basically, or 9 months. All the major moves, the fast moves have been short, guys. So I'd be careful of trading it long. And then, yet again, with this one, that was the CAD Swiss. It wasn't even the yen. Look at the yen. Is that significant? Ooh. Yet again, we were looking for this to push up. We've had the drawdown. Do you know what I would suggest we do? Is we sit on our hands for a while, other than trying to get money off the table. We sit in our hands for a while and we see where this gets to. And then once it hits its bottom, I'm talking about the yen here, guys, and possibly the Swiss. And once they hit their bottom, then we've got a definite direction, because it's going to run short. It's going to run short, guys, from there. So in other words, if this, remember also the CAD got eyed with the oil price, guys. So if this were to come away down here somewhere, and then things settle down, and it could be another month or, into January, then trade it long, whatever length of time it takes to get up there, guys. And you possibly could have an impulse like that. Remember, I traded up through there and then missed the impulse. New Zealand yen, same thing, guys. We were looking for it to push up. I got in based on that. I got in there. I've clearly got it wrong. Now I've got to decide, do I just take the hit and watch it and then get back in again if I think it's going long, or get the money into something else, or leave it on the table for a while. The difficulty with eToro is that they have certain levels of investment, and it gives you certain privileges. And if you sell something and go below that level, I should have done it like that, I suppose. If you sell and go below that level and stay under there for to the end of the month, you lose your privileges. So I'm very wary, because I'm near a border at the minute, and I'm very wary of selling stuff and losing the privileges, because you end up, you've got to put money into the account to keep it there. So that's something that's in the back of my mind too. Although I shouldn't allow eToro privileges to affect my trading, guys. And then New Zealand CAD, bit of a recovery there. We were expecting it to pretend. Well, no, we weren't. What we said there was, listen, it could either go long from here or go short. So we were saying just leave it alone. But if the oil price continues to dip, then that potentially could be half decent upside trade. But there's a problem here as well, because the Aussie, the New Zealand, and the CAD are all commodity based. So yes, the oil price is really blatant and out there. But when coal comes off, when iron comes off, when all sorts of other minerals come off, then it does affect the Aussie and the New Zealand, and also particularly the New Zealand is affected by tourism, guys, or the lack of tourism, should I say? So when things look like they're going to open up and tourists are going to start coming back to New Zealand, it's this disproportionately large amount of their economy is tourism based. So then you'd get the push up. But at the moment, if things are going to lock down, are you going to see a downside to the New Zealand dollar? That's the thing we need to know the answer to, guys. So as I started out, nothing definitive today. My message to you today is be careful, keep an eye on what's going on, and I'll be back again tomorrow. It's interesting. If not, it's not particularly good for us, but we learn when things are going wrong, guys. The brain starts absorbing information when we're losing, and when we're winning, the brain switches off because it goes, everything's all right there. I can take the day off because I really know what I'm doing. Okay, guys, I'll speak to you all again tomorrow. Bye for now.